We are mucus-free. 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 We are mucus-free.
Yeah. Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is Professor Spira, and this is the 8th episode of the Mucus-free Life podcast. And it's so wonderful to be here, to have this time to share this love with you and this information about the Mucus-free lifestyle, Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. If by some strange chance you're listening to this and you haven't read that particular book, I strongly advise you check out Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret. And I encourage you to check out my version of it, the annotated Mucusless Diet Healing System. And man, there's a lot going on. This is super busy, super overwhelming. Where you're hearing the music here, and this is music. The theme song that I currently have for the podcast is something that we improvised on the spot last year at the Arnold Ehret Day celebration, and it's been a year. It's almost here. A week from today. Right now, as I talk right now, in 7 days exactly from today, we will be at the Whetstone Park of Roses Shelter House talking about the Mucusless Diet Healing System and the legacy of Professor Arnold Ehret and how we can get this information out to more people, how we can elevate our own transitions, our own practice of the Mucusless diet, and all of that good stuff. It's been a overwhelming at times, trying to get this event together. Me and Brother Air for years, we've had visions of putting together events and doing different things. And once it's here and you're in the work, it's intense because I'm a perfectionist, and Brother Air, we all want it to be a certain way. We have a vision, and so we work to try to realize that vision. But sometimes the vision is very can be complicated, or can be kind of out there. To do what it is we want to do, it's like, okay, we got this idea and this drive to do it, but then you start looking at the amount of work and the things that's there. It's like, whoa. And so this year, I think everything's coming together, though. Got some great volunteers. Got some great speakers going to be there. Got some great food that's going to be happening. And this is going to be a great event. So if you, by any chance, if you've been waiting to get your tickets, or you've been thinking about it, you've been kind of on the fence, like, I've had to travel and all that kind of stuff, then I strongly encourage you to get you a ticket and come on out to the second annual Ehret Day celebration. It's going to be a blast. And let me see here. What's going on? Alexandros, great to have you again, Professor Spira. I really enjoy watching your videos. Well, I appreciate you. I'm so happy that folks are interested in what we have to say. You can go back to when I started practicing the Mucusless diet. I mean, I used to they talk about the Mucusless diet in front of a group of people. Now, granted, it was with some music that is some progressive kind of music, but just the fact I start talking about the Mucusless diet, there'll be people getting up and walking out of the room and stuff. And so this is such a transformation to go from where no one wanted to hear about this information to now there's people that are not only want to hear about it, but have been using it and benefiting from it, healing various ailments or issues and cleansing on physical, mental, and spiritual levels. It's happening, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to see that. So I appreciate all of you that are tuning in. And if you would, to support the channel, please share this link, share the podcast, share the YouTube channel, anything that you can do, your social media. This has to really be something that is transferred by mouth, from person to person. I've done my best to try to put the information out using some of the technology that we have with the social media and all that kind of stuff, but really need your help to get this information out there. And our message of the middle path of all of the plant-based natural healing methods, I say that this is the plant-based middle path. It's not extremist. Even though we sometimes get accused of that, or people that are themselves more inclined to extremes find some of the philosophy that Ehret has to say interesting, whilst skipping over the transition diet lessons, or thinking that they're better than those lessons, thinking that they're more advanced than those lessons. And unfortunately, often what happens is there's a rude awakening sooner or later that no, you're not more advanced than transition diet methodology. You're not. And you go through something, and a lot of people blame it on, it was fruit. You want to blame it on the fruit, or blame it on any number of things other than you didn't transition. The transition diet. So we promote, brother Ehret, myself, other folks in the community, we really encourage people to get into the transition. I love talking about the philosophy, but over the years, since one of my goals is to try to get this information out to people, I don't focus on a lot of that anymore. I used to because it was fun to get into these philosophical discussions and kind of explore ideas relating to the origin of humanity and humanity's diet and all this kind of stuff. But over the years, I've transitioned to really focusing on have one solid message that can be clear and concise enough for people to get. And I say, look, you don't have to believe in the philosophical things that Ehret had to say or the theoretical things, but regardless of what you believe, the transition methodology is solid and sound, and it will work. No, regardless, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that when I first read the book, I didn't believe. It took years of practicing the Mucusless diet to see some of the things that's in the book. So just reading the book a couple times isn't, you have to learn how to read the book. And that's why I got Mucusless Diet Healing System e-course. You can check into that, link down below for that. And that's really for the people that have gone through that. It's a 2-month-long course. You get a new lesson every other day for 2 months. And we methodically go through the Mucusless Diet Healing System lesson by lesson and examine it, analyze it, talk about it, and the keys are in there. I've had so many times I get messages for people that took the course that say that originally had a lot of questions for me. They would try to send me questions and stuff like that. Then they would take the course and they would say, I don't have any questions anymore. This course answered all my questions. Thank you. And I'm like, well, I appreciate you taking the course, of course. But that is where we're at today. I'm just an advocate of studying, learning, analyzing. There's an art to doing it, though. There's a way to do it that doesn't put you in a box. So some people are taught this, poorly taught this scientific type of thing, which it's not the real scientific method, unfortunately. And when you're talking about diet, you can't talk about scientific studies without analyzing the socio-political dynamics behind them, because they're not objective. Half the time, they're not objective, blind type of studies. These studies are being funded by people. Now, folks that understand the history of at least the tobacco industry and all that stuff that happened years ago with the advertising, and they would pay doctors and researchers. They were oftentimes behind these studies that said smoking tobacco is good for you. And there's a meme I made that has some old clippings of some of those ads on it. And so we got to see through that, so to this day, when you go into a high school and they got banners of got milk with some famous athlete it's not even real milk on there. They take this glue and they paint it on the top lip in those ads. You're living in a strange time, in a strange world, man. That's some propaganda that's just on a whole different level, because it works so well because nobody questions it. They have I want to say they've won, because people are starting to wake up, and it's some people, but I'm afraid it's still very prevalent to walk into a school and you see ads of, it's like a dietary 1984, Orwellian. When it comes to diet, we are definitely in the Orwellian kind of era. Orwellian, Huxleyan. I've always sort of seen the world a little bit more through the Brave New World, Aldous Huxley type of dystopia, as opposed to the 1984. But I don't know, stuff is starting to transition more in that 1984 direction. But I think we're still in the Brave New World. The difference there is, in the Brave New World type of approach, philosophical approach, you are dealing with people that it's not necessarily totally occupied and run by fascism and terrorism, fear mongering like it is in 1984. Instead, you have people who are drugged and occupied and basically turned into chattel would even be too much of a, basically machines, human machines. So everybody's getting high. They use this stuff called soma, and everybody gets this amount of soma. And soma would be like, heroin, cocaine, or something. If you made or pus and mucus forming foods. And so, because it's mandated by the government, it's regulated. Everybody just gets it for free because it's what denesthetizes them, keeps them emasculated, keep all that, sex is kind of controlled, but they allow, if I'm remembering the story correctly, it was something where sex was controlled, but it was demanded. Like, that was another part of keeping people occupied. So whatever work they had to do during the day, then after work, they would go get their soma, get high, go get into some orgies. That was the lifestyle. And so that's how I see at least in the society that I'm residing in, is more like that. It's more the Brave New World model versus the 1984 model. Hopefully you've read these books. If you haven't, I strongly advocate check that literature out. Brave New World, Huxley, 1984, Orwell. Some good stuff. And good things to then read this stuff. This literature a lot of people read in high school or whatever, maybe college, whatever, whenever you get exposed to it. But it's interesting stuff to check out through the mucus-free lens. It changes the whole piece of it. When you start looking at it through a mucus-free lens, it's definitely a whole different kind of analysis at that point. So speaking of dystopian existences, this weekend, right now, what's going on is something called in Columbus, Ohio, where I live, is something called the Jazz and Rib Festival, and it's basically, I used to say they should call it the Rib and Jazz Festival because it's really, the focus is on the ribs. And this is the website of the Jazz and Rib Fest. Now, I've played at this thing over the years many times. And I don't know if I'm going to make it out this year. I play on stage and perform. Sometimes I go and play on the street outside of it. Me and Brother Ehret were both buskers or street performers. And we might go and set up outside the event. I like to set up toward the end of the event when people are leaving and kind of get a lot of people as they're walking out. But over the years, every once in a while, I've shot some footage and would kind of talk about just this is all the different rib people. They come. I guess they travel all around the country, and they come in and they go to different rib festivals and different fairs and that kind of stuff. And they have awards that they give out for the best ribs and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm going to show you some footage that I got. Now, I do want to mention a little later on, once we get done going through this Jazz and Rib Fest, we got a great guest on today. Johnny Gonzalez is going to join me a little bit later. So Jazz and Rib Fest. So the first thing I want to say, because we actually, the Breatharian ensemble is the group that me and Brother Ehret lead. And that was really where we got started talking about the Mucusless diet publicly, but it was through an artistic kind of lens. And so we actually played, I think it was 2007, we played the Jazz and Rib Fest, and I got on the microphone, and I'm probably the only person in the history of the Jazz and Rib Fest to get on the mic on stage at the Rib Festival and tell everybody to not eat ribs. And I actually found that audio, so I want to play some of that for you in a minute. But first, to just give you a taste, I'm proud of this. I put this together back in 2 years ago, 2017. I went and with my phone, I think this is 2017. And I used my phone and some other footage that I had to kind of create. It's a minute-long little horror movie. Now, when you see this, you'll see, growing up, I was a big fan of horror films. Back in the Pus and Mucus days, when I was young, I could just sit there and I could go through all these different horror films and I wouldn't get scared of nothing. I just would watch this stuff, just murder, mayhem, and nutty ghosts and all kinds of stuff. But you'll see the influence of my horror movie background in this little clip. So I'm gonna play this for you, then we'll discuss. So these are the awards for who caused the most heart attacks last year in the different years. In 2015, they won best cardiac arrest. These guys up here got best stroke.
Somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent.
Welcome to Pus and Mucus Purgatory, y'all. Welcome to Pus and Mucus Purgatory, y'all. So, you know, that was, I'm proud of that. There's a lot of references in there that you see the movies. That would be something in the comment section or in the, tell me all the references you've seen. Just watching that once, different things that's in that little clip. Movies that I referenced or ideas or anything. Do a little analysis. I think that would be fun. At least it'd be interesting for me to see what you guys see in that little clip. But I posted that up on my Professor Spira Facebook page, a couple years ago, and I don't know. I just had fun making that. That was I had got all this. I actually have a long version of that where I was doing a live stream with Facebook and walking around the Jazz and Rib Fest, and so I basically just took a couple little clips from that and got a couple other clips from some other places and stuff, which we'll look at in a second. So the next thing I want to do is I'm gonna play some audio for you, and hopefully the audio will come through okay. In fact, hold on, give me one moment. Let me bring this up. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is I wrote Children of Rib Production. So this is a song. This is 2007 Breatharian ensemble. So this is what I was talking about. And I kind of cut it up a little bit so it's not super long, but there is this little vocal thing that I'm doing. Now remember the band back then, we're an edgy band. This is a progressive kind of band, and we do art pieces. So to understand the way we sound, some groups that you might want to check out would be like Sun Ra, Art Ensemble of Chicago, Breatharian Ensemble, Art Ensemble. Obviously, there's a great inspiration there. Ornette Coleman, the late things that John Coltrane played, Archie Shepp, just to name a few. If you go and listen to several hours of their music, watch some of their videos, and come back and see some of the Breatharian Ensemble stuff, you will understand the art with which we are a part of, the tradition, the artistic tradition that we're coming out of. But in this particular piece, it's based on a Parliament Funkadelic piece called Children of Production. And I would play that clip. I'd love to play the clip of that for you, but it'll get flagged for copyright, so I'm not even going to try that. So when you get a chance, you can, if you look up Children of Production, there's a really good live version of it, and there's an hour and a half long concert, and it's in the middle of that, and so you could find it there. Maybe I'll put a link to it or something, but so I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna just react to it, I think, here, because it's funny just to listen back. Now, I'm very critical. First, I wasn't going to play this because I'm kind of real critical about, as an artist, like I'm 20 times better musician today than I was back then, and blah, blah, blah. I hear all of the little things that's not perfect that I would do differently or better or whatever now, but that's not the point. The point was I was on stage. We were, as a band, we was on stage at the Jazz and Rib Fest basically saying, eating ribs is kind of dumb. So let's see here. Let's see if we can get this audio going.
How y'all doing it? The Jazz and Rib Festival 2007. Have a beautiful treat for y'all this evening. A treat that does not involve eating. A treat for your soul. Tragedy of nutrition.
So I made a cut there.
32 feet of obstruction. victims of the blind leading the blind. V equals P minus O. It is time for the blood to flow. Breatharian ensemble's ready to grow. Your body is the blueprint for the universe. Vitality equals power minus obstruction is the key. Things have been put into motion. It's deeper than the notion that the world was flat when it was round. We're gonna blow the mucus out your mind. We're gonna blow the mucus out your behind. Yes, y'all. Because 1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Spira professor coming back for more.
More apples and oranges, grapes and plums. No matter what they say,
Eating ribs is kind of dumb.
That animals ain't fruit. Why don't you bury it dead?
You got white blood when it's supposed to be red.
Oh. Doctor Who.
So of course, there's Doctor Who coming in there on the saxophone, and Uncle Eddie Brookshire on the bass, and Brother Air on the drums. And so this was the vibe. This was 2007. We were going places and just off the hook because nobody knew any of that stuff that we were saying. Now you know it because you've read the book and you know what we're talking about when we're talking about V equals P minus O. It is time for the blood to flow. Breatharian ensemble's ready to grow. Think about how progressive that is when you look at, like, nobody knew what we were talking about. They're just sitting there with their eyes glazed over like, what in the world is going on here? So that was fun. I mean, I like doing that kind of thing where we would show up places and just really deal with that. But I got to update the website, and we started getting together. We got some plans to try to put some music together soon, and we're going to be coming out with the Breatharian Ensemble Music Library, which hopefully I'm going to give myself the deadline of fall. I want to get that done by the fall to be able to put that out. But yeah, Breatharian Ensemble, people wasn't ready for that back then. I think now folks are ready. I think we could definitely do some damage now and get out there because folks kind of understand what's going on, and musically we've evolved and all that kind of stuff. Now at this next week we're going to have the Professor Spira and Brother Air Fire Music Project at the Ehret Day celebration, and so that's a that's a whole different type of thing, and so it's going to be very unique, very interesting musical experience for anybody that is able to be there live. So really encourage you to come out to that. What I want to show you now, this will be the last Jazz and Rib Fest thing. This is some footage that I shot back in 2013. And I was there with the lovely Janan Al-Jahani. She had just started practicing the diet like months before this, or months before this, about 6 or 7 months. But I just was walking around. I had just performed with FOMO Deep group that I used to be a part of here in Columbus. So I performed with them. Then I started walking around. Now this is at the Jazz and Rib Fest at the old location. It's at a new location now downtown, but it's the same. It looks the same. It's the same type of thing. And so here is that. Now, before you get started, yes, I'm aware that I got sunglasses and they're not the best. Now, first of all, none of us are perfect. That's one of the things that I would, from time to time, especially when I'm on stage, I'll still wear sunglasses. Now, oftentimes it's not for the sun, it's for the bright lights that hit the stage, and I got my eyes closed most of the time when I'm playing, and so it kind of blocks out whatever I'm looking at. I got my eyes closed. So that's these days, because I have started to use sunglasses less and less over the years. So just to already squash, because I know somebody's gonna have something to say about the sunglasses, I've just addressed it. But yeah, check this out. So basically, this is just gonna give you an inside look at the Rib Festival and to see it through our lens, because so few people see the world the way we see it. And I think it's important to do this kind of analysis that I try to be good natured. I'm not there like some folks would be, running around, doing some demonstration and pouring paint and blood on people or, doing stuff like that. That's not my approach. My approach is to try and reveal the absurdity of things that are coming out of the pus and mucus type of lifestyle and world. And so I'm not here to do something to just bash for the sake of bashing and saying that, we're better than they are. So I'm saying I'm from there and I'm doing what I would like somebody else to have done for me and somebody else that did do for me, which was expose the absurdity of the pus and mucus-based society and offer a solution for how to transform the moral fabric of society, the health and well-being and vitality of the members of society. This is the direction that we need to go in. So, without further ado, here is my short Jazz and Rib Fest documentary from 2013.
Jazz and Rib Fest. Let's give all of them a big round of applause. Now that you know the winners, you can get back out there and get some more ribs. And don't forget, enjoy the ribs, have a good time, and we'll see you next year for the 35th.
And we're gonna go and take a look at Rib Fest culture and see how pus and mucus is pretty much running this entire thing over here. Now, I just performed, so I always appreciate performing. However, you know how I feel about all of this. Yeah.
The street is constipated.
The street is constipated. There is cancer all on the street. Obstruction, viscous. So we just let's take a look at some of these. Corny. As I said in another video, we're in a very corny nation. So we got roasted sweet corn, chicken tenders, and corn dogs, and the chicken probably is battered in corn. If it's real chicken, right? Some beverage tokens. It's really not much to say. It's pretty much speaks for itself. And this is Sunday. Yesterday was actually like the most crowded day. But look at this. Now, I'm probably one of the only people that ever got on stage and actually told people to not eat ribs at the Jazz and Rib Festival. Because I was with the Breatharian ensemble about 5 years ago, and for some reason they got us to perform out here, and we went off from the very first time the mic was in front of my face. It was like talking about constipation and ribs and all kinds of.
I think it's good. People don't get that at the Jazz and Rib Festival.
Right. Pork and beans and what is this? Let's analyze this. We got pork and beans and the one thing that would be halfway not healthy but would be the best thing, the coleslaw, and that's what this person decided to scrap. Like, nah, I don't know, the ribs are gone. No waste of ribs, but coleslaw, Now they like to display their plastic trophies, 'cause I'm pretty sure it's not metal.
Where you at? Where you want?
Buddy. All right. What's your facial expression? I just got your expression. Oh wow, this is great. Got the spit on the grill. Got the country music going. Yeah. American. Proud to be an American.
That's all these people in line. That's their future disease right there spinning.
Right.
Look at that. All these people.
Right. What that pig shouldn't be smiling.
No.
He's like, this guy's got a football with him. Yeah, like if the bear's gonna have a shirt, they might as well give him some pants. This is nice. The happy pig. I'm happy to cook myself for you. I'm so very happy to do it. This is like hot sauce, I guess, or barbecue sauce.
And it's political.
Let's see, level 1, yeah, mild-mannered. Level 2, conservative. Level 3, bold. Level 4, brave. Level 5,
I didn't know he was chicken wings.
too hot. Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't want in your video.
Oh, okay. I understand.
He ever puts on 10 more pounds, like I need that. That's crazy.
It's a Roadhouse platter is 3 ribs, pulled pork, beans, slaw, and dinner roll is $17. It knows what's about to happen.
It knows what's going on behind
It's
it.
like, oh crap. We got another one. There's another one thing. So yeah, so like we said, there's no, we're not doing this out of some kind of negative vibe or anything. This is all love. This is all about, just educating. For those of you, if you're watching this, you're at least conscious enough to want to know, to be exposed to this perspective. It's just a mucusless perspective. That's all I offer. That's what I want to share, and you can take what you need, leave the rest alone, But to understand where we are, and even if you don't practice a diet, it's important for you to understand where people that do, or people that are vegans or whatever, you understand where we're coming from and what we see, the world we see. There's like this meat eater's privilege out here, so that's what's up. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Peace, love, and breath.
Okay, there we go. So hopefully you enjoyed my little documentary. I was I was watching it myself here, and it's got this 30-second delay as we go live here on YouTube as we record this. But yeah, so I told you I'm sitting on all kinds of footage. I got all kinds of recorded video stuff that's in the archive that I never released or did things with. You know, with this one, I use a few of those clips in that one, the little horror movie trailer video. That I used a couple clips from this in that, but yeah, you know, I like to go back through. Sometimes I just go back through some of that old material and really look for some interesting things there. But so that's enough with the Jazz and Rib Fest. But I just wanted to talk about that because it reflects there's so many different festivals, and they're festivals that could be transformed. See, the vision that I have is we can still have festivals, we can still have these massive fun gatherings, but they don't have to be around dead things. You know, it doesn't have to be a celebration of death. We can have celebrations of life, and that's what we're trying to do with Ehret Day next weekend. It's a celebration of life. And so speaking of next week in Ehret Day, I do want to play. It's just a short video. It's kind of the summary of last year's Ehret Day, just to kind of get us prepped up for this year. And then when I'm done with that, we're going to bring Johnny Gonzalez on, and he's going to talk about some of his wonderful story. Very interesting transition that Johnny's been on. And let's see. Wait, there's a couple. Let's go to the comment section real quick. There's someone just asked a question. Let me find the right thing here. Let's see. So I'll just go and say what's up to everybody. What's going on, Doug Hines? How you doing? Steve, my man. Great analogy. Yeah, thank you, man. We were talking about Brave New World, 1984. Cried says, hey, don't forget the ribwich. Think smaller, more legs. The ribwich, yes. And Sky says, nice editing. Thank you. Probably talking about my little horror movie trailer. And this guy asked, how was the crowd? I mean, people were just, when we would perform with Breatharian Ensemble and do that kind of stuff, people would just sort of stand there with their mouth open, just like, you know, it would be that type of thing. And because it was like they couldn't even walk away. They would want to, but it was like they're just being exposed to these vibrations and this imagery that they've never seen before. And they're just kind of dumbfounded, like, you know, you get that kind of, what's that, the fluoride stare? There's that meme that's going around. Yeah, that, you know, so we'd get a lot of that fluoride stare back then. Sky asked, did anybody come up to you and say anything after the performance or during? You know, yeah, I mean, it was basically that. You'd get that stare, and then people would be nervous, around us. They would be kind of scared of us. So it was like a real, you know how rock musicians and these kind of people, they'll have this persona on stage, like they're, cannibals or whatever, and they eat bats and bite heads off, whatever the shtick is, and people may be nervous around, like, oh, is this guy really a cannibal? But people were generally nervous with us after that performance. They're just kind of, they're scared that we're going to start a conversation with them. They don't want us to elaborate. So, and that's what I'm saying to me is different today versus back then. Is today, I think we would get more questions. There would be people that was a little bit more open to this information and would at least be curious, because that always kind of fascinated me, that people, after seeing something like that people wouldn't ask questions. Because I know if I saw something like that, I would be asking questions. Like, well, hold on. Well, what was that about? What are you talking about? What is this? I would have to ask some questions, about that type of performance, just on an artistic level. Like, okay, well, what's all this mean? And that was originally what we had wanted people to do. But like I said, oftentimes and not, people would be terrified. They'd be too scared to ask anything. And he said, ABC said, oh, okay, I thought this was pre-recorded. No. It's not. And let's see, Sky says, notice the lack of smartphones. Yeah, that's an interesting, looking just at those old years ago, you can see it was much less of that phone, people, just, you don't have to go back that far to where the kind of phone relationship we have now didn't exist yet. It's not that, because it's not really that old, to the point where you have everybody walking around like zombies, just looking down at a screen or talking to a screen, and people that's not around. And so I thank you guys for plugging in here with the chat and saying what's up. So Ehret Day celebration is about a celebration of life, celebration of progress, trying to take humanity to a place of natural living, we always say going back to nature. But as I've said in previous videos, I'm not against technology. It's about using technology in a way for us to transition ourselves. Because there's a number of ancient myths that talk of the so-called golden age of humanity, and a time that was much more technologically sophisticated than today. Now, I'm framing that type of discussion within the context of myth. That's you can have no culture without myth, first of all. And first day of any anthropology class, at least what they should teach. If you don't have a culture without some kind of myth. And there are some very interesting world myths that could use a good Ehret filter analysis to take a look at. And so we start getting into these technological times, and they used to talk about flying chariots, and there's a whole thing to that. But what I look at there is that I think that we've regressed in terms of diet to the point where, we're just in this, it's like a barren wasteland. And we've done this to ourselves. Because the way that things are, they don't have to be this way. Even social scientists and people will say that when we have great famine in the world, historically famine has always been man-made post the agricultural era. Now, you can dig up something and try to dispute or something, or make some kind of climate type of argument, but I think that's a very interesting analysis, and like I said, that's mainstream historians. We're not talking about some kind of fringe folks or people that are into advanced diet or anything kind of analysis. I'm talking about just mainstream historians will say that famine, historically speaking, and especially the modern day type of famine, is man-made, because borders are man-made. The hoarding of and creation of and hoarding certain kinds of food, and the way this stuff is man-made, and we're in a neo-colonialist period. If you're talking at least from a United States perspective or whatever. Yep, I won't get too deep into that, but just the point is that we don't have to accept the reality the way it is. We can question it, and while we're questioning it, we can change it by the decisions we make, the things that are within our control to change. Because I understand not everybody can change everything. We have to begin where we're at, using the resources that we have access to, and move forward. And that's the best that we can do. But that type of mentality change and shift can transform the lives of billions of people around the world. But the consciousness has to shift and change. And those of us that are trying to go down this road are at the forefront of this change. So without further ado, I'm going to play this quick video that sort of summarizes last year's Ehret Day celebration, just as we get excited about this year's event. And then we're going to bring Johnny Gonzalez on.
Put it like this, I would have to have that poison every day for 4 years.
So I want to give everybody a heartfelt welcome to my backyard. This is where I live.
It all begins with the light body. The best thing you can do for yourself is 1, breathe. Learn how to breathe.
So I've done the Arnold Classic, did really well. I placed 10th out of 35 women around the world. I looked great, which I would get all the time. You look amazing, man. So when people would tell me that, I would say, you don't understand what I'm going through. So I funneled through, and I came across Arnold Ehret.
My thing is, stay away from us and mucus-free food. That's the main problem.
Did it? Wow. I did not expect that much, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean you can keep doing this and you'll get more and more.
As a diet technician, I took care of the whole hospital. So if you came in the ER and you were there long enough to realize that, okay, he's gonna need a room. I'm gonna do a diet consultation on you at some point. You can come into a room, do your consultation, do your notes in the chart, make diet recommendations, and the physician will not read it.
But we got watermelon back there. We got Brother Air salad made by Brother Air. We got the fruit salad. We got the Mexican salad. So it's about to go down. So everybody dig in. Death culture. Everybody, y'all could take death culture right out of your pocket right now. No matter, walking around with little pieces of paper with dead people on it.
You decide you're gonna eat a piece of bread and you cramping, thank that bread. You think you gonna go on down there and get with the Rib Shack people? Thank that pig, cause you gon' pay for it in the long run.
What I wanted to do was talk about how it's not so much about fasting, it's about the art of practicing the Mucusless Diet Healing System, because that is an art. What I want people to understand, wherever they are in their living, is that you can transition off of the worst stuff.
Mucus-free. We are 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 mucus-free.
All right, greetings. We are back, and I have a great guest that's going to talk with me today. Let me introduce you to Mr. Johnny Gonzalez. What is going on, man?
How you doing, Professor Spira?
I'm doing well.
Good to be on the podcast today.
Yeah, man. So we are preparing for an event that is coming up very quickly, the Ehret Day celebration, and we're really excited to have Johnny on that, and he'll be giving his talk on July 27th on that Saturday, the first day of the event. But before we get to all that, I want to ask you to just give a little bit about yourself, just your background, how you got into the Mucusless diet, all that kind of stuff. Bring the brothers and sisters up to speed about who you are.
Okay, yeah. So originally when I started getting sick, that's basically how most people find Ehret, right, is you're looking for alternatives to get healthier. I was in a position of being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which turned into Crohn's disease, which put me on all kinds of medications. And eventually I got to a position where I said, you know what, I got to find some assistance. I got to figure this out, because I was going from doctor to doctor, to seeing specialists, to basically trying to do anything and everything from allopathic perspective to treat what I was going through. And when I found the Mucusless Diet Healing System, I read it and I wasn't able to comprehend it. I took some information from it and I was like, oh, okay, this kind of makes some sense, but I just wasn't in a position mentally to allow it to download. So that was in early 2014. And it wasn't until 2015 is when I really gave up the meat, the dairy, the stimulants. And after doing that for a few months, I went back to the book. I actually, what took me back was rational fasting. I had read that book. I had purchased my second Ehret book, and it changed the dimensions of my understanding of health. So at that point, I was able to, that light bulb just switched on, and it was like, oh my gosh, I think I could figure this out and change my health around. And it was early 2016 when Dr. Morse came into my life as well. And I spent many months just reading Ehret's work and also watching Dr. Morse film. So I spent countless months. I mean, I took it as a research project where I was 10 hours a day at least was watching videos and reading and dissecting Ehret's work. And it at that point is when I realized that health is it's a mental state. It's something that when you are sick or when you're suffering or when you're going through conditions, there's a lot of fear involved, a lot of the unknown. And I think that that's what they use to control us into thinking that, well, oh, when you're in this state, you got to go see a doctor to help you. It's never about, well, what do I got to do as an individual to fix the problems that I've created? So that's kind of how I went from being where I was at to understanding more or less what I needed to be doing. So that alone is more or less how my health started to get better and started to improve. So I mean, that's in a nutshell right there. how I really got involved with Arnold Ehret.
Okay. And weren't you, I guess, in high school, when did you start bodybuilding? So you were kind of real into bodybuilding, it looked like, and I think was a football player.
Yeah, I was a basketball player primarily.
Basketball player, okay.
Yeah, so growing up, I've always been into athletics. That was my outlet for anything that was going on in my life. I could always turn to sports as that escape from reality. So I've always had an athletic background. And then when I got out of high school, played a couple years at college, and then I got picked up on a semi-professional team, did that for about 4 years. And then around that time frame is when my brother really started getting into bodybuilding. So he's like, hey, come work out with me a little bit. And then next thing you know, that love that I had for basketball kind of transferred over to the body. And we're training 2-3 hours a day and making it a part of our lifestyle. So I competed a couple times. I was really into the body, and then along with that comes the usages of steroids, of supplementation and things of that nature. So it took me down a bad path. Along with that, when you get involved with that, you're consuming your chicken and your beef and your processed foods, trying to intake all those calories to get bigger. So this whole mindset really just did its number on me. And then it just led to the destruction of my own health. Although on the outside, and this is the part that sometimes individuals don't take into consideration, is on the outside, you could look good. You can get yourself to look like you're really in shape and you are healthy, but internally, that's a whole different story right there. So people would look at me and be like, oh, this guy's the poster of what health should be. But in reality, I was only fooling myself, along with everybody else that looked at me and thought I was healthy. So going from that to a drastic approach when I was really in my lowest states. Again, this is when I had just found Robert Morris, and as you and many are aware, he's working with individuals who are in their chronic stages of health. So promoting an all-fruit diet seemed logical at the time, because mentally and physically and emotionally, I was at the end of the road. I mean, I speak openly about this now because I was able to overcome it. But when your mental states are at the position where suicide and just giving up on life is a real thing for you, you're gonna do what's necessary. And I feel that that's what led me to go all fruit. And I lived there for 8-9 months just to get out of the state that I was in. And in that process, there was a huge shift in my consciousness, I guess, and my awareness of life. And I take no regrets for going through that route, but I reached a state where I was unable to relate to anybody. I was unable to be around individuals. There was a lot of imbalances in myself. And this is when just one day I woke up and I was like, you know what? I got to read the book again. I got to read Mucusless Diet Healing System again. I took 3 or 4 steps back, and I started the transitioning, and I started to make sense of the balance, and it hasn't let me down since. So I'm really grateful because of that.
Yeah, that's a really inspiring story, man. And let's see, maybe we take a picture, or take a look at a couple of the pictures. Basically your before and after. Let's see.
Yeah, it's funny. I look back on my old pictures, and I realized I was fat. Even though I was muscular, I was fat.
All right. So if we go back in time. So
oh my goodness. You're going back in time.
You're going back, yeah. 2012.
Yeah, so this right here in 2012, I was in the worst state of health I've ever experienced. Although you look at me and it's like, this guy looks like he's in great shape.
Right.
But absolutely not. I mean, I was
and you said the
highly mistaken.
Colitis. What kind of symptoms were you having associated with that?
Oh man, we're talking abdominal pain, bleeding, bloating. I mean, just pockets of just pain where I couldn't even touch my abdominals. But looking at it from a training perspective, it was like no pain, no gain. So you're kind of just pushing through. And it wasn't until I had gone on prednisone, which is it's a very, very toxic drug to the body. It forced another symptom to surface, which was blood clots in my right leg.
Wow.
And my leg literally swelled up overnight. I had just finished playing basketball one evening, and the next day I got up and my leg was just swollen, and I was like, oh well, I must have aggravated it playing basketball. And then the following day my leg was just ankle, calf, knee, everything was just, I couldn't even put my hands around my calf. It was so swollen.
Wow. Get some more from the, and you said you were doing the PEDs.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever come to Columbus for the Arnold Classic? That's
no, I didn't get a chance.
They have that every year. You always hear about it, because it's up the street. And okay. So that's back, and then so when did you start your transition? Would you say, or there's probably a big gap where there's no pictures when you got serious?
Oh yeah, there is. There's a big gap. I mean, so I went when I was at my heaviest. Well, not my heaviest, but just before I really started my radical fruit diet. I was weighing 190.
Okay.
And within 4 months, I was down to 140. So, of course, any person from the outside, and mind you, I'm in a gym, I see hundreds of people a day.
Right.
So, individuals were scared for me. They were nervous. They were, oh my God, are you okay? Is he dying? There was so much circulation of rumors that I really felt like this was a point in my life where I needed that. I needed to let the ego dissolve, because there's a lot of ego involved when you get in this lifestyle, because you have to nurture yourself and do what's necessary to grow to this level. In any competitive sport, I would, or job or anything of that sort, you're really having to establish that ego. So again, I was in such a critical condition with my health that I didn't give a crap what anybody said. And from the outside I didn't. Inside, I could say that I did, but it was like, would you want to keep suffering, or do you want to get better?
Right.
So it took me down to about 140. I think 140 was the lowest that I got to. And then all of a sudden, one day, it just like, there was a big shift where my body just started to gain weight. I don't do calories anymore. I don't do macronutrients. I don't try to track and log. I follow the simple principles of the system. I don't eat more than 2 meals a day. It's real basic. It's real standard. The meals I consume are very repetitive, but I know the logic behind of what it's doing to the body. So this is where my body started to fill out a little bit, and it wasn't as if I was just anorexic. It took me to a position where like, hey, okay, I got some definition back on me, and right now currently I'm still, I mean, I don't keep track of the calories, but there are a couple days where I will log just to see, because I'm like, I wonder how much I eat normally. And when I do, it's under 1,500 calories. I mean, some days I barely make 1,000 calories, and I know that's when I speak of this to my bodybuilding friends or people who are not intuitive with this information, they don't believe it. They don't think it's possible. But this is where it's like, okay, I can say V equals P minus O, but how much are you really going to get from that?
Right.
But it's a whole different dimension of the body and developing it both internally and also externally as well, that it's not aligned with modern standards of, of
health,
developing the body.
So-called science.
So-called, that's a big key word in that.
Right. And so this video that we're seeing footage of here, this is recent, right? This was
just like a couple days ago, a few days ago.
Yeah, and you're in the great G-Fit gym. That's your gym, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you and your brother hold
baby.
that down. Yeah, it's a great gym.
Yeah, it's really one of those gyms where, because we come from a town of population 15,000, the surrounding towns 60,000, 75,000. So we're not really a big town, but we have a facility. It's called the McDermott X, which has 2 indoor basketball courts. It has 2 indoor soccer fields. It has a 50-foot rock wall. It has indoor surfing. It has a huge laser tag.
Yeah.
It has a zip line. There's a lot involved with this facility. And then we have the gym inside of this facility. So we've learned to coexist and help one another to continue to get members and to grow and to expand our awareness. So it's really been a good thing. The switch originally when we had we had a little 10 by 10 little room. It was actually a closet storage space, and that's where our business started from. And then we did our business, we did our training, we did our selling of supplements and in gym shakes and recoveries, and then as we grew as businessmen in the next couple years, and as our training began to grow, we took over the gym, and we didn't look back after that.
Yeah, that's great. So for those, if you're out there, if you're in, you say Lindsay, California.
Honestly, we've reached a position where, hey, we're thinking of the world. What we're doing, our message is we're trying to get everybody. Everybody to come through and really experience something different. Because I know that there's not any programs out there that are anywhere close to doing what we do. Because there's so much that's involved that nobody talks about when it comes to developing or creating a training protocol for individuals.
Right.
Yeah, our training is really established around movement. It's based on getting individuals to move better, to live better, to be aware of their own health, be aware of their body's ability to move, and just improve wherever you're at. As you can see in a lot of the photos, we don't just have one genre of individuals. We have a mixture of everyone.
Let's go. Okay, we got the fruit.
Our little fruit lug. Yep.
The fruit lug. Yeah.
That's our little motto for what we promote. We can't get everybody to change their diet immediately, but we say, hey, break fast with fruit. Start there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. See, getting on outside a little bit. Death by bear crawl.
Yeah, my brother's most recent birthday this past April, we did 1 mile bear crawl.
Wow, that's serious. Yeah, so all y'all check out G-Fit Lifestyle. Find it, you guys, here on Facebook, and you guys, what's your website?
gfitlifestyle.com as well.
Yeah. Taking it to a whole different level, you know, to have a space that where people can come and, you know, getting the fitness angle. There's a certain level of orientation that we have in the society to work out and athletics. It's part of the education. When you're young, go to school, and you start. I think they started us doing weight training probably around 7th grade. You know, I wrestled in 7th grade, and that was, I think, the first time that I really did it. And but then after that, you know, football is just around everywhere. What's not around as much is the kind of interest in being healthy and having a healthy lifestyle and eating as what we bring to the table. So usually, at least from what I remember, and I don't know if it's probably the same. I don't think it's changed that much in the schools, where the healthy stuff, it was just so lame. They were just so cheesy, and they were terrible. So on the, you know, you walk in and they have a picture of, you know, milk, and maybe Michael Jordan's standing there with a milk mustache or something, holding this cow pus glass, and I was there right when Coca-Cola started having deals with all the high schools around the country, and so I think I might have been probably one of the first generations that really had that. Just all throughout the school, there were vending machines that and pop. You could buy pop and Coke all day, and Powerade, and I don't know if they got Surge anymore. We were like Surge. The Surge guinea pigs. Yeah, the folks look that stuff up, man. That's just this green elixir that was just, you know, supposed to have more caffeine than Mountain Dew or something, but it was so that type of environment, you know, a healthy diet is like way down on the list. It's not even considered.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's more about how you look, you know, having and appealing to this sensibility and this viewpoint that's already messed up by mucus. This idea of, you know, like you said, you know, that big, you know, muscle bound kind of gorilla type of thing, you know, that's coming from an old mucus type of precept, you know, kind of a pus-based mentality. Whereas once you start going down this type of path, that your value system changes, and it's not just like something that you are changing because you're reading up on stuff. It's like from the inside out, it's changing.
Yes.
You know, you're totally feeling it.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, because there's a lot of blindness to a transition with going from wherever you're at to eating a raw diet or an alkaline diet, where even these individuals, they are not certain. They're not certain about what they're doing. It's just like kind of a fad in a sense, where when you understand the system, your mindset changes. You no longer are second guessing anything about what's occurring with the body, because it's so well described to show and guide you that you can't help but change how you feel about health at this point. And this is why it's so profound, because you're actually changing from the inside out, and no longer can you be influenced by saying, oh, meat is good for you, or you need to have a stimulant, you need to have coffee, you need to,
right,
like all that it becomes poison. It becomes like, how can you live like that? Or, I mean, and don't get me wrong, growing up, our family has a Mexican restaurant, a standard American diet, meat every single meal. I remember my dad getting off work 1 or 2 on the weekends and bringing us tacos and burritos, and we're eating that late. And I can't even remember a time where it's been over a year or so that I've eaten that late. So it's big shift in the mind, for sure.
Yeah, that's deep. So what kind of and I know some of this you might talk about in your talk, which is the Ehret Day talk you're giving is health, movement, and vitality on the mucusless diet. But maybe if you could give a little preview, what does your workout regimen look like now? You're like, how many days a week do you work out, or how many hours a day, or what kind of, obviously you're leading people in things, but as far as your personal workout, what does that look like now?
So if individuals were to look back on my Instagram or my social media, I was posting stuff every single day, multiple times a day, of just how I would train, because it's very unique, but again, it's ego driven. Right. So if I didn't post a video about my workout, the workout didn't count. That's kind of the mindset I was at. So once I went through this whole transition, I can't begin to describe how much ego dissolved inside of me, where I no longer even wanted to work out in front of people anymore. Because there was such a close relationship with myself that was the most important than anything else. So when it comes to training, I train all day long, and my perspective of movement in general is based on understanding that we are natural movers. We are designed to be moving. We're not designed to be sitting for 8 hours a day watching TV, being inside in the air conditioner, under artificial lights, going to work to a job we hate. I mean, that the lifestyle that is created for us to live in it's really up. So it's something that, just take this into consideration. Now, when it comes to training, my regimen is very, 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 very the same. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I go outside. I get myself as naked as possible, depending on, again, who's present. And I sun gaze. And as I sun gaze, I'm going through specific movements to move my lymphatic fluids. And that's my centerpiece, is when you understand how to move your body to stimulate lymphatic fluids in your body, that is key right there. Breathing is next on that list, along with, again, elimination. That's part of the system. Right. So when it comes to training, I move my body in a way that I visually feel like I'm moving every single part of my body. So I do a lot of rebounding. I do a lot of swinging movements. I do a lot of jumping, of movement stretches. There's a lot of repetitions involved in my training. So I'll knock out 70 push-ups. I'll knock out 100 sit-ups, and then I'll rest. And then 10-15 minutes later, I'll do 100 toe touches, and then I'll reach for the sky. Just to give an example. And I'm doing this throughout the day. So along with this, I really try to emphasize constant movement. If I could just move more and more throughout the day, then by the end of the day, I'm putting in a lot of work. Right. And people don't look at it like that. They look at it as, I got to get one session in, 1 hour, 2 hours in, and work as hard as I can. Right. Go to fatigue, and then fill my body with a bunch of protein and mucus and pus.
Right.
So And then when it comes to training, I do focus a lot of my work inversion. I do a lot of handstands. I'm on all fours quite often. And when I'm in the gym, it's same thing, same concept. I'll go and I'll do a bench press, and then I'll go do some tricep pull downs, and then I'll go and do some lat pull downs, and I just continuously am training as much as I can, to a degree where I'm not going to complete fatigue, but just enough to get my body stimulated. And I feel that has become more of a bonus for me, because I have almost unlimited endurance, as it seems that sometimes, where it's like some of the clients will go through sessions where they'll be like, we got to do this many, and I'm thinking in my head like, this is the warm up right here. What are you guys talking about?
Right.
Their body and their physiology is different.
Yeah.
Where it's something where I've been able to use as a tool to help others to move better.
Right.
And to look at their health and look at their bodies from a different perspective. So it's definitely different, but there's a lot of just the basic understanding that we're natural movers and we have to be moving as much as possible.
Yeah. No, I really like that. That's hip to really get into, just all day, just kind of on and off, and to not overtax yourself. Like you said, what the standard thing is, people work out 3 times a week or something, and when they do, they go for a couple hours super hard and bust everything up so they're good and sore, and they wake up the next day like, just like,
I can't move.
I must have did a good job yesterday.
Yeah, I can't recall how many times I've heard that before. But something I want to point out, because I do know that there will be a different audience also listening to this that are in the detox lifestyle, where there is, especially in the Morse community, there is a very negative approach about training or exercise, and they suggest, you can't be working out, you can't be doing this because you're detoxing and you don't want to create more acids in the body. I have to disagree with that, and I have to bring to the surface that when you exercise, your body's actually eliminating.
Right.
Although they consider that the acid that is being created through exercise, but again, if you're not training to completely destroy a muscle and you're going to fatigue and then continuously hitting sets to fatigue,
right,
but you're just moving and you're feeling good about the movement, that is a form of elimination. I tell clients, you need to focus on your breathing, you need to focus on sweating. Those two things have to be a priority over, how many sets and reps can I do? So understanding that when you train and when you move, you are assisting your body in this detox process. So I just want to throw that out there, because there's so much poo-poo involved with saying, you can't exercise when you're doing this lifestyle. Right. When you look at Ehret, consider what Ehret talks about, and this will be a big point in my life. This guy was not just an average person doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
This guy was an athlete. He was doing stuff, pushing his body to limits that in his work is like, whoa, 56 hours continuously walking, like that's right. Something that you can't just wake up and I'm going to do that.
Right.
It's something you have to build to.
Yeah. But 2 years of biking, just every day, just around, around the continent, and and that's true. And I think Ehret's wisdom is kind of what it sounds to me like you have, brought on to yourself too, is that it's about physical movement, and moving every day, stretching every day. He has his stretch exercises that he recommends, and but whatever you use, it's about movement, but not shaking the body too much to where you start to mess up the tissues,
Yes.
you know, where if you and I always like to think about those old shaking things where you watch the old videos where they had the exercise stuff from the 30s and stuff where, you know, you put some strap around you and it shakes you and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, he's kind of talking about that. But the way people work out, lots of times that's what they do. They're just sort of shaking stuff up, you know, and it's not really good quality physical movement. I even, you know, when I watch people in the gym that go in and it's like, okay, I'm on one hand, I'm happy that they're doing anything. I mean, there's that attitude, but then when you just, if you get on treadmill or you get on one like elliptical machine and, you know, you just kind of on there for an hour or something and then you go to Golden Corral to eat. It's like, wait a minute.
Golden Corral.
What's going on? You know, it's like it's just this disconnect where I see a lot of people moving because they have made it a habit, but it's not like quality movement. You know, it's not really in the service of, like you talking about elimination, in the service of really circulating the blood, moving the lymph. You know, that's not a goal. It's just I mean, there's some people, you know, they might be trying to lose weight or whatever they're trying to do, but I see a lot of folks, it just seems like they're doing it because it's a habit, because they told they were supposed to do it. And so, and like I said, I'm not saying, I'm not dissing them, you know, for like, well, at least they're doing something. It's just, I think that type of mentality needs to evolve. If we can take that habit of, okay, you're doing that, let's improve the quality of movement by way of some different exercises, different protocols, you know, and of course the diet, you know, the upgrading diet, and that could take a lot of things to the next level, you know.
Yeah, and that's something that I definitely have seen over the past couple years, is that individuals are very stuck in their ways where they're not necessarily trying to have or do different things to improve themselves. They're just like, oh, well, I'll just add more cardio, or I'll just do this instead of changing my diet. Like, I mean, because the diet is the diet is the key.
Yeah.
I don't care what position you're in, overweight, sick, on your deathbed, your diet needs to be changed first before anything else. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to, that's the last resort to solving this equation. So it's definitely a transition. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it, because you get individuals in the gym that are stuck in their ways. They're eating standard American diet. They think taking supplements and stimulants and all of the above is good for them in some way, shape, or form. But in all reality, that's just more accumulation of waste in the body, and it's to the point where wait till the jar fills up, and when the jar fills up, then that's when the problems will surface.
Yeah. And I see you got some little guys back there. Who's your?
Yeah, my little ones are playing right now.
Yeah,
they're having to, and which is good because they got to hear this stuff too.
Yeah,
I always encourage, because even though they're young, and this goes for, because I'm a parent of 4, so if you have kids, you change your health for them to get this information. So whenever I'm working with individuals, I always have them present. If I'm ever reading, I'll read aloud, so that way they can hear this information.
Right.
It does download subconsciously, even though they may not understand it.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah. And you know, when they're around that, it doesn't, you know, it just becomes a part of what's normal. You know, it just normalizes it, because it's not something that's this weird thing or something. It's just like, oh, this is what we do, you know.
You know what? Actually, Jared, come here, baby. Hurry, Jarek, come here. He's my littlest one right here. His name is Jarek.
What's going
see
on,
this guy
Jarek?
right here, Jarek? Right here, you see him? Can you sit up here a little bit? He's the one that made the Mucus Monster video. Remember that the one that you watch?
What's going on?
Say hi.
Hey.
Yeah, so he regularly will ask to watch the book that you did.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And when I explain, because with a few of my children, I don't have full control over what they eat when they're with the other parent.
Right.
So what I've done is just express like, hey, if you eat the bad foods, the mucus monsters are gonna be winning in your body. But when you eat the good food, the mucus monsters are gonna leave your body.
Right.
So you gotta be careful with what you eat and make it simple and fun for them. And again, through time, once their comprehension picks up, they'll be able to figure this out for themselves.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I'm glad that they, whenever I hear that, it makes me feel good. There's some young folks that like the video. And,
man, yeah, I think I've watched that at least 50 times.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it personally. I mean, it's something that I'm gonna incorporate this upcoming school year.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I didn't mention about what we do that is very, very cool is we have a program called GUM, Get Up and Move.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with just the 7th grade class in our school district. And once every semester, all 7th graders would come to our facility. We would take them through a nutrition component, a fitness component, a team building component, and a motivational component. And so they go to 4 classes, and then we make them a healthy lunch, and then they get to play, because we have an arcade here as well, along with all that I've mentioned.
Yeah.
So that grew over the years, and now we do 3rd grade through 8th grade. So every kid is coming through us to learn about this information. And it's funny because in the beginning it was more calories, it was more eat less bad food, eat more good food. Now it's like, hey guys, meat is kind of not the best for you.
Yeah.
Dairy's not that good for you. You got to eat your fruits more and your vegetables. So it's really cool to know that, like, we're trying to shape the future. We're trying to get these kids to get information that they don't hear at home. They're not around individuals that take care of themselves or that know about all of this stuff. So little by little, it's definitely become a life goal to really get the word out of health. Our biggest motto is health is for everyone. It's not for one particular group of individuals, it's for everyone. We all have the same anatomy and physiology. Our bodies function the same. We're all identical. And then, of course, there are some conditions where it's not like that, but that's due to passing on weakened genetics from person to person. So it's all explained when you actually break it down and really research and do your research. That's why in the beginning it was about, I gotta tell everybody about this. I bought my whole family enema kits last Christmas. So it was trying to push and force. Now it's like, okay, well, do your own research, see for yourself what I'm living, what I'm experiencing. This is my journey, this is my experience. But if you do it yourself, you can see that it could benefit you as well.
So how is it with your brother? Where's he at on his journey,
Jarek?
And and if there was any friction as you started to move in this direction, because I think you guys got the running the spot, and the curriculum and everything. So how was that?
Well, that right there. Okay, so when I originally found Morse and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this fruit thing.
Yeah.
I told my brother that, look, I'm gonna do this and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I need to do it. So can you please just support me with whatever I gotta go through? Because I mean, internally I felt like it was gonna go down. There was gonna be a lot that was gonna take place.
Yeah.
And he supported me through that. And he backed me up and he carried me. When I got to my lowest, it was hard. I mean, it really was hard. In my area, I don't have anybody to talk to. There was not anybody that I could just go and phone and relate to, and they can assist me through my own path. So it was rough. So it wasn't until probably like 6 months into it myself that he's like, you know what? Maybe I'll cut back on the meat. So we started to cut back on the meat. And then all of a sudden it was like, look at all the torture and animals that are being killed. I'm going to really give up meat. And so he did. He gave up meat.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
And that worked out well. So he's 2, 3 months, 4 months into no meat. And then every day he's taking pre-workout though. And then one day I'm like, hey, you got to give up the pre-workouts, bro. And he's like, oh, I can't do that just yet.
We'll explain what that is for people don't know.
A pre-workout is just a high dose of caffeine and stimulants. And you take that prior to an exercise and it just jacks you up. And it just gives you all these tingles, and it's just a drug. It's fake.
Is that like the monster drinks or the Red Bull and all that kind of stuff, or is it something else?
So yeah, like the monsters and the Red Bulls, there's a lot more sugar involved and a smaller dose of caffeine. But a pre-workout is all caffeine, just a straight hit. You might as well just line it up and do one of those. Is equal. So he was at that position where he was taking pre-workouts every day, and then every day I would see him take a pre-workout and I would give him the look like, come on, man, you don't want to do this. And then finally it went to a half scoop, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to give it up for a couple days. And then with this one in particular incident time, he was behind the desk and I was on top, like, because our gym has 2 levels. So I was on the top, so he wasn't able to see me, but he went behind the desk and he looked to the left, he looked to the right, and then he kind of was keeping his head on a swivel, and he reaches down like all sneaky to grab a pre-workout, and he's about to pour it. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And when I caught him, he had that like deer in the headlight look.
Yeah.
But he gave it up.
Wow.
And the first couple months was a struggle for him, but he did it. And then at that point, he really started to cut back on the dairy and the processed food and the stimulants and all the sugary drinks, and he's really come a long ways. I mean, we've bumped heads, we've had friction, but we're blood brothers. We grew up wearing the same diapers, the same clothes. We're only a year apart. So we've always had a very unique bond, and it's gotten us this far. I mean, I still try to push on quite a bit more stuff onto him because I feel it's needed for him. Like iron and iron, that's how you sharpen. That's how you sharpen each other.
Right.
So right now he's in a good spot. I'm not going to say he's practicing the system just yet, but he's pretty close.
Okay.
He's pretty close.
Yeah.
So I think after this event, he's going to be like, all right, I'm going to get the book and I'm going to look at it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it. But I mean, it's helped so much because our clients benefit from this.
Right.
Because he's always been the kind of the image of the business, where I was the kind of the business behind the closed doors. So when all this started to take place, I would push health to people and they'd be like, nah, I'm not going to listen. And then all of a sudden he's pushing the health and they're like, okay, I'm more capable of listening. So now it's a good partnership that we have, and the clients are really responsive to it. And it's been a great thing thus far. And I'm really looking forward to the future, because in the beginning of 2015, I told him that I've had visions, I've had experiences that said that we're gonna do this. Like, our mission in life is bigger than just helping the people in our own community.
Yeah.
We're gonna reach the world. We're gonna get retreats over here. We're gonna get a sanitarium type environment where we can help people and they can come over here and stay over here. And so this is all in the future, near future, I might add, because it's something that we're working towards every single day, day in, day out. There is no breaks from this.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, and I can, one thing that comes to mind that is, when you do a lot of work, even the karmic dynamics of this process are real interesting, because you put in a lot of work working out. Even if you used different stimulants and things, there's still some work that was done that you can you continue the benefits of that, like once you get into the diet. And as you see, you went through the big transformation and the kind of the fast version, the fruit. And but as I'd worked out for years, and then when I started practicing diet, I didn't work out like that no more. One of the reasons that I had to kind of stop working out just was more of a mental thing, was because the way that I used to work out, it was that varsity athlete thing, and I couldn't. Every time I went into a gym, I couldn't not do it like that. And physically, that was no longer in alignment with my body and where I was at. My body just wanted the movement and just but I'm still in there doing all this heavy lifting and stuff. And so I was like, man, I just got to get away from that, because just mentally. And so I did more just walking and all the outside activities and that kind of stuff, and just got away from the gym thing. But then now, I don't know how many years ago it was, but a number of years ago, I started going to the gym again and went back, and I had gotten over that mental thing. So now I can go in and do it's just regular workouts, and I don't do nothing special, but it's just gets the stuff moving, but I don't have that mental thing where I have to, like, where I'm overdoing it, or where I leave and I'm like, man, but I noticed that because of the years that I'd spent years and years ago with technique and all that kind of stuff, my technique is still good. And with good technique, you can, whatever your strength is, if you got a little technique, you can lift some weight, He's like,
definitely.
And so you don't lose that, if you put that type of time in, and especially with mechanics. And that's what I'm always talking about, the mechanics and that type of stuff. And it's the same with working out. You got your mechanics, you got those things down, and even after you go through a transformation, the work that you put in, you're still going to benefit from that in some way. You're going to pay for, in a different way with the eliminations, you're going to pay for whatever stimulants you were putting in. Those are going to come out as some sometimes scary eliminations. But once all that's out of there, you get back to it and you be like, okay, I got this.
Definitely.
So give us a good little intro to your talk over Ehret Day. With just a little introduction to what you're gonna be sharing with us.
Okay, so when I have been preparing for this, I've looked at it from different angles, because everybody responds to different information, and it's having to put information so that it's understandable for the masses, for a person where they're at. So working with clients who are at completely different levels, it always has to be kind of dropped to lower levels of teaching. Then I considered, okay, well, we're gonna be around people who get the system, who know about Ehret's work, who maybe need a little more of a push to understand how it all connects. So what I plan to do is express through experience, express through Ehret's work, and try to connect puzzle pieces for people to understand that building your body, building your health, they go hand in hand. When you're practicing the system, you just add the physical part to it, to what you're already doing. And that's enough right there. So being able to teach about specific movements, specific coordinations of exercises, combinations of exercises, little tactics that every person could do regardless of where you're at. And I even have incorporated a list of exercises a person should be doing every single day based on the blood and the lymphatic system, based on breathing techniques. So looking at it from a whole, I want whoever is going to be present and listens to this to be able to be encouraged to want to exercise and to want to practice a more active lifestyle with alignment with understanding elimination, because that's the key to all of this. And we're all aware of that in the community, the Ehret community, but I just feel that there's some missing pieces to the puzzle that not everybody gets just yet. And looking around, I don't really see anybody doing what I do specifically. Like even on the online community, there's not too many individuals that are really highly into the active lifestyle and training every day. So being able to, like Brother Ehret, hey, bring something to the table. Right. What are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is where it's like, okay, I think I have something that I could bring to the table that's going to help a lot of people moving forward with their own path and journey on this. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I want to up my workout game, and so I'm definitely gonna be taking my notes. For sure, man. So, well, it was wonderful having you on the show today. You got any last words for the brothers and sisters out there?
Get your tickets. Go online, get your tickets. This is going to be a good event overall. I mean, a lot of good speakers that are going to give information that the world needs to know. This is the second event. You did this last year. This is the second event, and it's going to grow. It's going to grow every year. And each person has their role to bring to the table something that is going to help the awareness of the system to get out. Because it's the most developed system. It's the most developed program if you're trying to get healthy, if you're trying to heal the body from whatever conditions, physically, mentally, emotionally. And it's the most logical. And that's the part that, like, the logic is so simple, but it's so hard to comprehend for most. And as I mentioned, when I read Ehret's work in the beginning with the mucus and pus mind, there are blockages, there are roadblocks that won't allow you to accept this information. So what do you got to do? Well, you can start off by doing an enema. I mean, that's a go-to for any person.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm almost at a position of comfortability with this, where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just start doing live enemas on YouTube, and you can just see what happens.
Yeah.
That's a big part.
Yeah.
That's a big part of this.
Right. Yeah.
So,
they would blow up too. That's how it, because there's definitely a fascination with enemas on. Whenever someone posts a video of it, online, I've noticed that they gets a lot of views. And but that's bringing in the new era, man. And I'm real happy that you're doing the work that you're doing over there, and that vision. We're gonna be doing some collaborations for sure, moving forward in the near future, as you said.
Definitely.
So take this era is about taking it to the next level. We just everything we're doing is just taking it to the next level. The foundation of it was always trying to get ourselves together and letting that be, because a lot of people try to put the cart before the horse, and they'll be doing this stuff for a couple days, and they're already like trying to sell it or do things or something.
And just to also add to that point, where I mean, because we're coming from an area where, as I mentioned, there's not any vegans here, there's not any persons that can relate to any of this. I'm living my life knowing that I've damaged my body from 30 years of living incorrectly. In no shape or form am I saying I'm on some pedestal, but individuals who have a lower comprehension of reality look at someone like myself who's doing this and is like, oh, you're trying to be better than everyone, you're trying to be almighty, and I mean, I get so much negative input because I take care of myself, because I'm loving myself more.
Right.
It's saddening on a certain level, because these individuals are so caught up in their own mind and programming of the world to not understand the reality of health.
Right.
Which I want to just be able to express that, because individuals going through the journey are going to experience it, and people that are considering of going through this journey are going to also experience it. So just something to keep in mind for the listeners.
Yes, most definitely. So I want to thank Johnny for coming on here, and you got G-Fit Lifestyle is the website, and you can Johnny Gonzales on Facebook if folks want to find you. And looking forward to July 27th. It's going down, Columbus, Ohio.
Yes, sir.
As he said, get your ticket. Get your plane tickets, get your event tickets, get all that. Book the hotels and come on down. We're gonna be having a lot of fun. So, all right, man. Well, I thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I thank all of you for tuning in today. It was a lot of fun. And until next time, peace, love, and breath.
Take care.
We are mucus-free. 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 We are mucus-free.